Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. It's Friday, November 1st, 2024. You know what that means? It's time for me to answer your burning questions live. We'll be talking about this week's latest cannabis policy and science news during today's show. But first, let's take a minute to say hi to everyone. Drop a note in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. Hey, Braddy, you're first in the comments. Good to see you here. Hello to everyone who has joined us on Instagram. Hey, Higher Dreams. Hey, Local 757. Take a quick second to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when NORML goes live. We try to do this every Friday at about 4 o'clock Eastern. Hey, Kyle in Indiana. Good to see you here. Braddy, you can find this wallpaper on Amazon. Honey has a question. Honey, can you give me a little bit more context on this? Honey says, no news on the Idaho ban of THC. Is that specific to like, hey, Marco in Arizona, is that specific to like hemp products? Not me awkwardly trying to Google it on my phone in the middle of this. So let me know a little bit more. And then Nick, you can't hear me? I can see you. Hi, Bill in Norfolk. Bill, you're also watching on YouTube. Can you hear me? Hi, Ben. You're also watching on YouTube. Can you hear me? Hi, Sherry. Thank you. It's wallpaper. Hey, Kyle. Thanks for the question. Kyle asks if there are any recent polls on Florida Amendment 3, and does it look promising to pass? You know, Kyle, this would be a great time for me not to be streaming from my laptop where everything's really, really tiny. But I think the sort of general answer, I'm looking to see if there are any new, I don't have any new polls handy, but it's close. It's really tight in Florida. You remember, it's a constitutional amendment, so it requires 60% of the vote. Every vote in Florida is going to matter. It's going to be very close. Thank you, William, for letting me know that you can hear me. Yes, those are actually, yes, real skulls. That's what those are. Real skulls, real bugs. Hey, Higher Dreams. I see your question on Instagram. Sorry, I can't show Instagram questions. It doesn't work with this interface, but I can read them. The question is, when is Virginia going to start allowing adult use sales? Are they talking about it? So Virginia is going to pass legislation that allows the sale of cannabis to adults 21 and older when Virginians elect a governor who will sign the bill. So are we talking about it? Sure, we're talking about it, but we're talking about it realistically. Youngkin just vetoed the bill this year that we put on his desk. Not that it was a good bill, but he vetoed it anyhow. You know, the administration was apparently willing to make amendments to the legislation that would have allowed sales to begin, but that wasn't something that the patron they reached out to was amenable to. So, you know, not a good year for adult use retail in Virginia, obviously. It's almost like elections have consequences. And if you you make a bad choice, then you have to live with that. So that's what we're doing in Virginia. Hopefully, when Virginians go to the polls for the next gubernatorial election, which will be November of 2025, they will make better choices and they will elect a governor who wants cannabis off the street corner and behind an age-verified counter, unlike the one that we have today, who just doesn't seem to care. Those are my thoughts. Thanks for asking. Higher dreams. Thanks to everyone else who just joined us on Instagram. If you have questions, drop them in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. Hey, Randy. Welcome. Hi, James. Good to see you. I hope that you can hear me now, Nick. Let's get into some news. And here's the, gosh, I hope this is going to work. Here's the really big one. You may have seen this on our socials or literally anywhere that covers marijuana news. I'm going to drop this in the comments so you'll see it if you're watching anywhere but Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, you can find this story on the front page of the NORML website, norml.org. But late last night, Marijuana Moment broke the story about the DEA judge, specifically the judge, pushing back the timeline for in-person testimony in the marijuana rescheduling hearings. So December 2nd is the first hearing, and that will be a preliminary hearing. That's still going to happen, but that's not an in-person testimony hearing. Those are not now set to occur until what the expectation is January or February. This is something that is not at all from NORML's side, not at all unexpected. They also released the 25 entities that were selected to offer testimony. And the judge clapped back at that and said, I would like to know more about how and why these groups were chosen, which is great. Absolutely. Please do that. Oh, good, Nick. I'm glad it's working. What? Oh, I gotta scroll up and read some stuff that. Yes, James, that's correct. Okay, so that's what's going on with the DEA hearings. We are going to do a live talking more about rescheduling the process again, but we're going to wait until after the election because that's the next big news cycle, and we're going to deal with that next week. Yes, James says that Kamala stated that it should be legalized and says at least it's a good look forward. Yes, Vice President Harris has been a vocal advocate for ending federal prohibition for some time now, including when she was in the Senate, and she was the sponsor of the MORE Act. Ben, where are you going? Good to know. Hey, Fred. Happy Friday to you. Hi, Joseph. Joseph asks, when is Pennsylvania going to get on board? Well, this next legislative session will be really important for Pennsylvania when it comes to serious conversations about legalizing adult use. There is... What's that? There's an action alert in the NORML Take Action Center. So you can right now send messages to your lawmakers in Pennsylvania in support of legalizing adult use. And something else that is new to NORML's Take Action Center as of this week are action alerts for states that don't have pending legislation for adult use or haven't had pending legislation. So if you're in Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, West Virginia, Wisconsin, or Wyoming. We have an action alert up for you now on the NORML Take Action Center. You're going to find that at norml.org/act. There, it did work. And you can send messages to your lawmakers now in support of legalization, even without legislation pending in your states. I have to click through so many things here to see. Let's see. I see your comment, higher dreams about Second Amendment rights as it pertains to cannabis. You're in Virginia, so it's worth noting that Virginia does not have a guns and weed law. In Virginia, that has to be a federal charge, and it's typically reserved for somebody who's being prosecuted for or charged with possession with intent to distribute. But to your point, that is something that needs to be resolved by Congress. Some states are taking action to protect, at least at the state level, the Second Amendment rights of individuals who consume cannabis. In particular, this seems to be really popular in some states with protecting the rights of medical cannabis patients. But it is something that Congress certainly could tackle. It's something you can also potentially tackle at the state level. It's not something we can tackle in Virginia in this next legislative session. Why? The governor that we have. But we could do that theoretically with a different governor. But the thing is, we don't have a law to amend in Virginia regarding guns and cannabis. So we actually just had a sort of exercise on that. Like, is there anything we could even change for that? And there isn't even anything in the code to change. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for popping in to say hi. Appreciate it. Ben, I love your comment. Ben says, get out the vote. Vote cannabis-friendly legislators at your local level. Vote cannabis-friendly legislators at every level to that point. Yeah. Please do. Please do. And you can check out Smoke the Vote for that. I mean, obviously. Let me run over here and grab this link for you. Sorry, Instagram, can't share links with you, but you could just go to vote.norml.org. And of course, you can find that on the front page of NORML as well. What is this? I don't know what that means, JFT. I don't know what that means. Please tell me. CCC, tell me more. Oh, Christopher, that sounds terrible. Yuck. You could just put that up like here, and everyone can see that. Look at that. It's a JFT is somebody watching on YouTube. So like that's their username on YouTube. That's all I mean. Yes, the skull's behind me. It's wallpaper. Sorry. The Wi-Fi at our office is not cooperating today, so I did not go there to do the live. I'm not at a coffee house. No. You're welcome. Hey, John. Thanks for your question. John says, when will Tennessee legalize marijuana? John, that's a great question. Tennessee is going to legalize marijuana when the people of Tennessee elect legislators who will pass that legislation. That's just the most straightforward answer I can give you. So of the states that have the ability to legalize by ballot initiative, most of those states have already legalized. Of the remaining states that can legalize by ballot initiative, we're sort of working our way through those now. You've got North Dakota, South Dakota, both have measures that are on the ballot right now. You've got Florida doing it through a constitutional amendment, which is a really hard lift. You had Nebraska trying to do some Nebraska with medical cannabis legislation. Those are the ballot measures for this election day. And then you've got local measures in Texas and in Kentucky related to cannabis. But if the people who live in those states or those localities aren't electing people who are going to do the thing that they want them to do, they're not going to get it. So that's very much where Tennessee is right now. It's where a lot of states are. And where is that comment from, though? So vote, and vote smartly, please. Kyle, I think I started to share your comment before accidentally, but I love it. Kyle says, it's quite surprising to see Trump supporting Amendment 3. I mean, honestly, it was surprising to see a public statement like that. It was, I don't know, it was kind of a thin statement, if you will, but it could very easily be interpreted as support for Amendment 3. And then to Kyle's point, Kyle goes on to say, but other Republicans are against it, putting him at odds over it. Fingers crossed it'll pass. Exactly. You've got a governor in Florida who's spending PAC money to oppose an issue that's, supported by a majority of voters in the U.S. and also in the Sunshine State. Does that translate into 60% vote? Let's find out. Real, asked if I have any updates on hemp cultivation in the U.S. It's legal to cultivate hemp in the U.S. That's the only update that I have for you on that. There's not any Agricultural Improvement Act or Farm Bill updates to provide. So what? Okay. I don't know what's going on there. Brady, you got to look at what's going on where you're watching. Figure that out for me. David, yes, I do know. So David has a question about Virginia. David says Virginia has medical dispensaries but does not have recreational dispensaries in the state, even though recreational cannabis is legal in Virginia. Do you know why? Yes, I know why. It is because Virginians elected a governor who has his head in the sand on marijuana. That's what it is. You've elected a governor who hates cannabis, wants nothing to do with it. And so instead of having experts provide him solid talking points about cannabis policy and why it's important wherever you stand, like I have done many times for the administration on this show, you can just get it for free anytime, kids. Instead of doing that, he's just ignoring it and ignoring his constituents, ignoring the dangerous situation that his lack of action and sometimes action have put the citizens of the Commonwealth in. Unregulated products pose a risk to consumers, and Virginia had the opportunity, at the very least, to turn on sales at existing operators. Like every single state that expands from medical to adult use does. They could have at least done the bare minimum, but instead they've done nothing because of the governor. So, David, please, if you are in Virginia, remember that when you go to vote for governor in 2025. Don't. If Sears ends up being the Republican nominee, she's just as bad on cannabis as the current governor. So that's not where your vote should go. Anything about the VAs and cannabis, as in the Veterans Administration? Nick, not since last we talked about it. There is legislation pending in Congress, at least 2 pieces of legislation pending in Congress regarding veterans' access to medical cannabis. You can find those, of course, on the in our Take Action Center. Dennis, thank you for your question. Dennis asked if there's any news in North Carolina about moving forward. No, not right now. Of course, it's not, we're just kind of getting to the point in time, especially once we get past the election, where states will begin talking about legislative actions for the coming session to start in 2025. Dennis, I will tell you that we have an action alert for legalization in North Carolina right now in the NORML Take Action Center. You can find that at norml.org/act. Or if you're on the front page of the NORML website, just click the Take Action button at the top and it'll take you to NORML's Take Action Center. And scroll down below the map and you will see a list of states, action alerts for states that don't really have that type of legislation pending, and North Carolina is one of them. Dash, thanks for asking. What are the odds for Florida? It's real close. It's real close. Really, really close. You think that's what that is, Christopher? And please let me know if that's okay. Thank you. I handled that. Appreciate it, buddy. Great. Hi, Laurel. I see you. Hope you're enjoying this. You're welcome, David. Thanks for asking. Let's do some more news. All right. So DEA judge pushes back in-person testimony. We talked about that. Christopher, that's hilarious. And true. Now, since we have some elections coming up, I think this is worth noting. You missed everything, Laurel. Remember 6 years ago? I can't believe it was 6 years ago, but remember 6 years ago when Canada legalized marijuana nationwide? I do. And it turns out they did some polling coming up on the 6th anniversary. They did some polling, and not only do most Canadians purchase, quote, all of their cannabis products from legal dispensaries, 62% of Canadians support the policy change that is nationwide legalization. So good job, Canada. And I think that's certainly an important thing to keep in your brain as we watch America continue to struggle with this, both at the state and federal level. All right, I've got 3, and now I have 3 more stories for you. They're all health related. Okay, real. Let me read your question. What state are you in? Real. I can't tell from your comment. But once you tell me what state you're in, I can answer that question for Virginia, but I don't know if that's where you are. Arizona, great. So I'm not going to pretend like I specialize in Arizona policy, but let's read this. Here is, maybe someone in Arizona knows this. Also, it's going to be on the NORML website. I can tell you that. Here's Real's question. Per plant limit of state recreational grow. What if your plant yields 2 pounds? All of your plants, whatever. Is it legal to hold 2 pounds on your personal property? Hypothetical question. Thanks for asking, Real. To answer that, I'm drinking chai, bratty. To answer that, I would have to go to the NORML website. I would encourage you to do the same. But if you go to the NORML website and click on state laws, then you can click on Arizona, not Alaska. You can click on Arizona and it'll take you to a page that has the possession limits. So, I don't know if you have in Arizona specific allowances for personally cultivated cannabis. I'm trying to see that. I can tell you this. It says that producing more than 6 plants and up to 2, nope, that's not it. That's from criminal code, so that's not about, I don't know what that is. I don't think that we have a number for that. I can see that what the code is for possession with intent to distribute, but I can't see anything on this page about your possession limits for personally cultivated cannabis. I don't know if the law in Arizona is written specific to possession in public or possession in general. That's a great question. Is anyone watching from Arizona, and do you know? That's a great question. If you want to email us to say, hey, give me an answer. Thank you. It's a gray area. Thank you. If you want to email us so we can look at code more specifically, you can just send us an email at normal@norml.org and say, hey, JM, I have a question about Arizona. And then write your question, but address it to me because we all see that. Not that someone else can answer it, but they might not. We're more likely to notice it if it's like, hey, I'm talking to you. I can tell you though, hey, Insulin, good to see you. That's something that we had to deal with in Virginia, and because when the law was passed initially, it was sort of non-specific, and so we did pass a subsequent code cleanup bill that just said whatever you have in your home is permissible as long as it's for personal use. So there's no possession limit in your home in Virginia. It's when you get in public. Now, if you possess in your home with intent to distribute in any amount, that's illegal all day, every day in Virginia. So there are ways states can deal with this, and it sounds like Arizona just might not have quite dealt with that yet. But we'd be happy to look at code. Just send us an email. Hey, Chris. This is not. this is chai, iced chai latte specifically in my cup. No infused beverages. Yeah, I did see that you can exchange up to, in Arizona, up to an ounce. Thank you, Insulin. Ben, thanks. Ben says that he received the MJ Biz article that lists out the ALJ witnesses. These are the witnesses for the federal marijuana rescheduling hearing. Ben happened to notice that NORML is omitted, and Ben says, we believe this decision, this terrible mistake. We're not entirely surprised. NORML has participated in a number of rescheduling hearings previously. And we really, really like what the judge is doing, where the judge is saying, hey, how did you choose these people and what makes them qualified? Have they adequately demonstrated that they are aggrieved by this policy change? So that'll be interesting to see if anything happens, if anyone gets removed once the judge gets that information, or if anyone gets added I mean, there's a lot of people scheduled to testify or on that list, as you can see. It's surprisingly long. But then it's also worth noting that NORML has been on the record repeatedly saying that we agree with the findings that are behind this rescheduling. We agree with HHS that they have sufficiently demonstrated that marijuana does not meet the criteria for Schedule 1. That's not to say that NORML believes that marijuana belongs in Schedule 3, and that as opposed to descheduling. Those are two entirely different things. But we have been on the record repeatedly saying that we agree with the decisions that have been made by all the parties involved in this process so far. So thank you for loving us, though. Real, send us an email. We'll get you an answer. Daniel, we're a nonpartisan organization. We are a nonpartisan organization. That doesn't mean that one party won't be better than the other on this issue. That happens. So if you don't like that the candidates you support are bad on marijuana policy, then do something about it. It's not a partisan issue when we decide who, if we were ever to endorse someone. Which we don't. NORML does not endorse. NORML does not offer endorsements in presidential races, period. But if we do offer endorsements in congressional or state races, it's not party-based, it's policy-based. And if the party you like sucks on cannabis policy, then please go do something about that. I'm not going to run for anything, Bratty, but thank you. Where did you hear that? First of all, hi, Radhika. Second, this is a Virginia question. Ohm Baked is this brand. They are in Northern Virginia. They are very nice and very smart and care deeply about their customers. I can tell you that. But Ohm Baked says, we heard that there is a new $1,000 registration fee coming down for CBD businesses for any location that sells CBD. I haven't heard of this. Show me the... I don't know where that's coming from. Hi, thank you for showing me that. Radhika, can you like text me the link or something? If you put a link in the Facebook or in the chat, it won't. I can't see it on my platform, so just text it to me. Yes, I do know about the registration requirement and code. I do not know about the fee. That could be new. Hey, Adam. Thank you. I wish I could show your Instagram comment on StreamYard, but it won't let me. Yeah, it's always policy. NORML is a nonpartisan organization. It is not part of the equation here. Thank you, Radhika. It is all policy. And if your favorite person sucks on cannabis policy, then we're not going to be like, yeah, vote for them. Yeah, I see the code section. I don't think they have promulgated. I'm curious as to where or why they think that that's the fee, unless VDAX has published did VDAX publish new regulations or something? I'll keep looking. I'll text you about it later. Bratty, I see you on Instagram also. So thanks for watching everywhere. Okay, we will do that. I agree, Adam. I am so tired of people also, I agree, using this as their tool because it just makes them sound like tools. Hey, Arctic, I see your comment. Hey, Robert, I see you. Yes, we've been fighting the good fight for over half a century. We're gonna keep on keeping on. Arctic, thank you for your question. Arctic says, I can't, that one's too small. Do you know the fee to register as a Schedule 3 provider? Oh, this is what you, oh, okay. You mean I thought this was a lab question. You mean in regard to the potential federal rescheduling of marijuana? It's not going to have anything to do with regulated cannabis. So let's say tomorrow we all wake up and imagine it's not going to happen. But let's just say hypothetically, one day you wake up and marijuana is Schedule 3. It doesn't have any impact on state cannabis programs, adult use or medical. All of these programs are operating in conflict with federal law today. Marijuana is Schedule 1, and all these programs operate in conflict with that. If marijuana is Schedule 3, all these programs will still operate, and they will just continue to be in conflict with federal law. Moving cannabis to Schedule 3, like, high five, good job, federal government, for abandoning your flat earth policy, your flat earth position on marijuana. That's great, right? They should do that. They should give up that ghost and move on. But it doesn't do anything it doesn't impact regulated cannabis markets at the state level, other than the potential for those businesses to be able to take tax deductions that they can't take today. Thank you for asking. And East Coast, thank you. Appreciate that. I don't know, First Amendment right, saying no deschedule, I don't know what you mean. Do you mean no, we shouldn't deschedule? Because we should. Or do you mean no to rescheduling, we should deschedule? It's not an either or scenario, I will tell you that. These are two entirely different processes. The rescheduling, the scheduling review that's underway right now, that's a process that is prescribed by law, and it's underway, it's moving, it's happening, it's fine. We're not choosing in that process. That process, there is no choice. There is not a, should it be Schedule 3 or should it be any other schedule than one? It is, should it be Schedule 1? Should it be Schedule 3? That's what that process is. It is not about descheduling. That's not on table through that process. To deschedule marijuana, to remove it from the Federal Controlled Substances Act and allow states to set their own policies, as they're already doing, without threat of federal interference, requires Congress to pass a bill. It's not an executive order from the president. Congress has to pass a bill. So remember that when you go vote. If you elect people who aren't going to pass a bill to end federal prohibition, maybe that's not who you want to vote for. The U.S. House of Representatives has multiple times passed legislation to end federal prohibition, and then it does not meet the same fate in the Senate. So remember that. Kyle asks, if Florida does pass, how will this affect the rest of the country going forward and federally? I don't think it will have any impact either way. I think if it didn't pass, I think that will incite a lot of prohibitionist rhetoric, but 70% of Americans support legalization today. Whether Florida is legal next week or not, 70% of voters are still going to, of Americans are still going to support legalization. Yeah, I mean, maybe, Brady. Does it add to the momentum? Maybe. I will say this, Florida has close to 1 million medical cannabis patients, arguably the largest medical cannabis patient population in the state, country program in the country. So that would be significant, but otherwise, I don't think it's necessarily, it's always nice to add another feather to the cap, but I don't think it influences other states or federal policy in the way that people expect it to, because 24 states have already done this. More than people who live in the U.S., more than half of the people living in the U.S., because in these 24 states are more than half of the people, more than half of the people living in the United States live somewhere where marijuana is legal for adults. Ben. Yeah, maybe. Brady says if Florida passes, every state that it borders is going to be impacted. Yeah, you could probably say that about other states around the country too, but it's not necessarily influencing their neighbors. Like Virginia legalizing did not influence any of our neighboring states to take action. Maryland legalized like right after us, but they were going to do it anyhow. Yeah, Georgia legislators can be pissed about, they'll be pissed regardless, so they'll have something to be mad about regardless. Georgia legislators should be focused on fixing their medical program. That's sad. Yes, Dennis, yes. Dennis says it looks like the North Carolina bill is sitting in limbo, doesn't have a date for its next hearing. Yeah, if you were looking at, yes, Dennis, if you're looking at that on our website, on our map, that is actually pulling the information from a platform called Bill Track 50, which is pulling the data directly from the state. That is accurate. Sometimes there'll be like a 1 or 2 hour delay on something, but no, it's just sitting there. Yeah, yes, they absolutely sit there and let bills die. That's a tactic. It is a big week next week, Chris. Chris says big week next week. I always get excited for the outcome. Buckle up. And Chris, you can, of course, follow along NORML Election Central. It's at norml.org/election. You can follow along there election night. If anything is called on election night, I'll update that page. But it's also reasonable to expect that we may not know on election night, particularly with Florida. It could be so close that we don't know that night. Higher dreams, you're welcome. You are very welcome. All right, let me tell you a couple of these science newses. That's how we're saying it today. This is the most uncomfortable chair in the universe. It's not meant for doing a live stream from. Okay. Oh, that image sucks, but whatever. That emoji is not good. Okay, so there's a study done, and in this study, it looks at cannabis consumption and hardening of arteries. In this one, in particular, the carotid artery, the buildup of plaque in the carotid artery, or the calcification of the artery. And investigators doing this study found no statistically significant associations between a history of regular cannabis smoking and the prevalence of carotid calcified plaque. So, according to this analysis, cannabis use is not associated with an elevated risk of carotid artery calcification. I need a throne to stream from. No, I just need to be at the office. I need the internet to work at the office so I can be comfortable. But instead you get this. You get skulls. Happy Halloween, everyone. Oh, I'm gonna save that one for last because that's the one where you all go, yeah, duh. It's not a week of news if we don't have one of those. Okay, this next study takes a look at patients. It follows patients who are having spinal fusion, like lower back surgery, spinal fusion. And in this study, they looked at cannabis consumers versus non-consumers. And what they found, unsurprising, is that the people with a history of cannabis use were less likely to use opioids following their surgery. Researchers say this, quote, cannabis users had lower rates of opioid utilization compared to non-cannabis users as early as 2 months after fusion surgery. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for enjoying the skulls. Hey, Grateful, thanks for your question. Grateful says, is NORML still actively working in DC? Yes. So my colleague, Morgan Fox, is the political director at NORML. Morgan is in our DC office, and he's on the Hill very regularly. So yeah. And what can you do as a licensed operator to help? Well, that'd be a great question. If you're talking specifically about this issue, that'd be a great question to ask Morgan. You can reach him at normal@normal.org. Just say, hey, Morgan. Or you can email politics@normal.org. Doesn't matter. He's going to see them both. But I'm sure he would love to hear from you and love any help that you're willing to provide. Thank you for asking. Arctic, I think that your comment might have gotten chopped in half because here's what I can see. Arctic says, has the most consumer-friendly functioning cannabis business regs? Just curious. Are you talking about which state has the most consumer-friendly functioning cannabis business regs? The most consumer-friendly regs. I think there are different components of access from a consumer standpoint that are great in a lot of different states. And then even sometimes in the same state, they could have something that's really terrible. Like some states don't have legally mandated independent third-party analytical laboratory testing by labs that are regulated. Gross. That seems gross. Yuck. So those states should fix that. Let's use Virginia as an example. Virginia has great medical cannabis access from a patient standpoint, except it does not have enough dispensaries by any measure. But Virginia doesn't have a made-up list of conditions. You don't have to have a special condition. You just need to get your certification, and then you can go the same day. You can go immediately. Once you get your certification, you can get your certification by telehealth, and then you can get it during that appointment and go to the dispensary immediately after. So that's great. The state requires organic cultivation and certified good manufacturing processes. But in the same, some of the most stringent testing regulations in the country, but don't have enough dispensaries. Hasn't enacted adult use. So it really depends on what you're looking at. Some states have reciprocity. Some states don't. Some states, have low serving size limits. Some states use 5 milligrams as their serving size limit. That's not great. That's forcing consumers to buy more product. You know, it just depends on what you're looking at. We do, to your point though, grateful. We are in the process of reviewing for an update our I cannot for the life of me remember what we call it at this point, but we have a NORML report that summarizes the regulations for adult use states. And I'm going to look and see if I can figure out what it is. It's not the it's okay, great. The last time we did this was 2022, so we're redoing it right now. It's called Marijuana Policies in Legal States. You can find it on the NORML reports page. I found it by just putting into Google NORML reports, and it came right up. But it's on our reports page. Let me see if I can copy that from my phone to here and not the AMP version. Thank you. Okay, so grateful. You should see that comment popping up on YouTube in just a second, and that link will take you to the NORML report section if you want to see the 2022 version. But do know that we are going through the process, and sometime, I expect sometime in November, we will be getting this updated with 2024 regs. Look, I think a lot of people, Brady, this is funny. First of all, Brady says, you people insisting on all this testing would not have survived the Mexican brickweed of the 90s. Here's the thing. I think a significant number of people who survived Mexican brickweed of the 90s are in fact advocating for testing. I think that people who are doing this work have experience in this policy area in many ways and know what's smart and what's not. But I still think your joke is funny. Insulin says, Canada's model, while not perfect, is pretty good compared to everything I've seen across the US. Yeah. I mean, there's things to pick and choose from everywhere, right? Isn't that, how we get to be laboratories of democracy or something like that? Is that North Carolina District 14, Ben? Is that what that abbreviation is? Is that what that abbreviation is? Please tell me, Ben. Ben says North Carolina House Speaker Tim Moore is running for what I believe is North Carolina District 14. Speaker Moore has held up cannabis legislation from the floor for over a decade. Gross. The next speaker is important since North Carolina is big tobacco. Yeah, I mean, Virginia's big tobacco also. And if we can do it here, you can do it there. North Carolina, look, you don't have, medical's a great place to start. Well, let's just say what we say, right? You don't have to hold your breath because you don't have, this, of course, Ben, but it's okay if you don't get everything in one fell swoop. You got to start somewhere where your legislature is comfortable. And it sounds like your legislature, in particular, your speaker, is not comfortable with the marijuanas, and if North Carolinians are going to keep electing people like that, it's going to be a steep hill to climb. So find a sweet spot where they are comfortable and start chipping away that way. We do not hold classes, James. No. Marco, thank you. You guys are hilarious. Higher dreams. I'm sorry that you've been disappointed by some of the products you may have experienced in Virginia. I can tell you from what I have heard, what I hear all day, every day from medical patients in Virginia and from the dispensaries as well. Sorry to anyone whose feelings get hurt. I'm not, but whatever. Rise is the dispensary brand, we'll call it, that operates in Southwest. And as I'm sure you know, all of the dispensaries in Virginia can wholesale to each other. So you can get Rise products in wherever you are. But Rise flower in particular, any of their flower products, is far and away the what people say is the best flower. And I don't mean like one person. I mean like everyone I hear from says Rise flower is the best flower. I've even heard it from people who work at dispensaries that aren't Rise. So if someone who works in the dispensary that's not that brand is saying that, I think it's probably pretty close to true. It's also worth noting that, and no shade on any of the other operators in Virginia, they're all doing their best. In particular, though, since we're talking about Rise, which is owned by GTI, that was acquired. They acquired Dharma. Dharma is the original company. And the Virginians, Dharma is a Virginia company. Those are people who were born and raised in Southwest Virginia who started that company. And they did really well, and they sold their company to GTI, and good for them. The difference is they stayed on. They are still operating Virginia for GTI. And so it's no surprise that you're getting really high quality products out of them. Again, it's not to speak ill of the other ones, just can speak well of them in particular. So if you don't like what you've tried, try something from Rise. Higher dreams. I see your other question about does DC allow micro businesses? Yeah, DC has different tiers for their licenses. As Virginia will have different tiers for their licenses when we can finally pass an adult use retail measure. Hey, Jeffrey Lopez, I see you. Thanks for joining. Sorry it took me a second to see your comment. I'm trying to catch up with these new comments here. No, please do not go to random stores that sell unregulated products in Virginia or otherwise. You don't know what you're buying, full stop. Also, can we please give up the ghost on this THCA flower nonsense? That's weed. That's not a thing. THCA flower isn't a thing. It's weed. Oh, NORML University? No, that's not a thing. Oh, no. And since someone mentioned this, I'm not going to show the comment because it's weird, but people love to say that Donald Trump legalized hemp or he legalized whatever. He signed the Farm Bill. Every president signs the Farm Bill. And this is not meant to be a political comment. This is meant to be educational. If you are spouting off that the president legalized hemp because the president signed the Farm Bill, no. What the president did is sign the Farm Bill. Every president signs the Farm Bill. The Congress passed that measure. Mitch McConnell's group wrote terrible language for it, but that's how that works. Not to rain on your parade, and if it rained, I guess sorry for your feelings. I'm not. That's just how it works. Presidents sign farm bills. It doesn't make them responsible for the contents. Donna, you have a NORML bumper sticker on your car from college. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Grateful is asking what can licensed operators in DC do to help educate consumers on the licensed medical market in DC? That's a great question. Grateful. I don't know, without looking, what sort of restrictions there are on advertising in DC. So that is something. If there are restrictions in DC as to how these legal operators can advertise, that may be a policy area worth concentrating some effort on reforming. You're getting ahead of yourself, Bratty. I mean, I know it's after 5, but also I don't have to drive anywhere today. I will save that for last. Thank you. You might have to type it again so I don't have to scroll up so far. You're welcome, Ohm Baked. Like, nonsense language, right? It doesn't smell like weed, smell harder. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Dispensaries sell THCA flower. Yes, that is weed. Yes, that is cannabis, that is marijuana. This fun new idea that we're going to call it THCA flower, and that's somehow going to, make its way through some loophole. Like, let me know if that works for you, kids. It doesn't in Virginia, because in Virginia, the state was smart enough to use total THC instead of, as someone earlier called, Moscow Mitch's poorly drafted language. But yeah, that's what THCA flower is. He cannot veto the Farm Bill. It's no, he cannot veto the Farm Bill. Presidents don't veto the Farm Bill. They sign it. I understand your point. I understand you want to be like super into this dude and like big high fives for completing an administrative task, but that's literally what it is. Presidents sign the Farm Bill. That is what they do. It's not their bill. It's not their thing. Thank you. Bratty has given everyone permission to take the rest of the day off because it is now 5 p.m. Eastern. Oh, gosh. You guys. Can't wait to read all these comments in succession on YouTube. You're welcome. Higher Dreams. I hope that was helpful. Cheerios. I see your comment. It doesn't let me show Instagram comments on this platform, but I can read it. Cheerios, I think that you're asking about Virginia. Let me know if I'm wrong. Cheerio says, we smaller non-licensed operators are feeling pushed out of the market by large multi-state operators. Any advice? Yes, don't worry about the multi-state operators, first and foremost. They are not your problem in Virginia. There are MSOs everywhere. That is the reality of commodified cannabis, of capitalism. We aren't solving capitalism. Thank you. We aren't solving capitalism with weed policy, just like we're not solving racism with weed policy or the healthcare crisis in America or the mental health care crisis in America. Cannabis policy is not solving any of those issues, right? Let's not hang our hats on these fantasies. That is not what it's here for. But to that point, like these multi-state operators, that's what they are. They operate cannabis businesses in multiple states. They started off small one time too, and they've been doing it for a while, and they got good at their businesses. Like they don't matter. Maybe this is problematic in another state, but I can speak wholeheartedly about Virginia on this issue. It is definitely what I, live and breathe. They don't care about more operators entering this space. They know it's the reality, and they're happy to support that process. In Virginia, you have to vote for, and everywhere, you have to vote for people who don't suck on cannabis policy. Virginians elected a governor who is terrible on cannabis policy. He does not listen to policy experts. He does not seek out policy expertise. He has his head in the sand and is essentially saying, I want a raging illicit market that poses significant risk to consumers. I want that instead. So that's what the real issue in Virginia is who you have elected. We have the opportunity in Virginia in November 25 to elect a new governor. Remember that when you're picking, when you're coloring your bubble, remember that. And then in the 2026 General Assembly, we can and will have a real bill. The bill that we had in 2024, not a good bill. We're going to see that same bill recirculated in 2025. It's still not a good bill. Right? So are we going to spin our wheels, waste some time on a bill that sucks already? No. Hopefully it's whatever. It's not, it wouldn't be signed anyhow. So that's the real thing. And I can tell you, Cheerios, I love saying that there will be tiers for adult use licensing in Virginia. And this will extend to medical at some point as well. But you've got a terrible administration on cannabis. You've got, some Republicans who really just don't care about the issue. We have some great Republicans in Virginia on cannabis, but sometimes they vote against their party, and more often than not, they vote with their party, which is problematic. If you're for it, then be for it. But I understand not wanting to expend your political capital for what it's worth. But you have Democrats in Virginia who refuse to do any medical cannabis expansion because they're like, oh no, we have to do this first. Ugh, whatever. So both sides are making bad decisions, but one side in particular is making really bad decisions. So we have to not let that be the case. And for the 2026 General Assembly, where that will be our first opportunity to really pass a good bill and hopefully put it on the desk of a governor who will sign it. Remember that. That is and then just, participate. And remember, Cheerios, this is not about letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. We're going to get the best that we can get. And this is anywhere we're operating, right? If anywhere that NORML is involved in legislation, we are pragmatic and we are going to be aiming for the best that we can get out of those people who have been elected to push that vote button. We aren't the legislators. We aren't the ones voting. So we don't just get to make the decisions, but we do get to help influence the people who are making those decisions and get it to as good as possible. And that's okay. It's okay for it to not be perfect. That's so important to remember. It is okay for it to not be perfect. You can come back the next year and you can keep making it better. But you have to start somewhere, and that's my advice, is just to be involved and to understand the need to be pragmatic. And no one's getting everything they want. So hope to see you at the General Assembly. Oh, and also to that point, stay tuned because I'm going to talk about an event coming up in Virginia after I catch up on these comments. Oh, why did I want to go back and read these comments? You guys are too much. Oh, okay. I think you're talking about federal stuff, right, Ben? I feel like I'm watching this on a 3-inch screen, to be honest. Ooh. All right. No, I did all the news. Great. No, I have one. I saved this one for you for last so that you all can go, yeah, duh, because that's kind of my favorite. Bye, Brady. I won't forget your question. This is just gonna go ahead and put it there. But this is a study. Yeah, we needed a study on this. Turns out pain patients report reduced pain, improved mental health, and experienced, quote, a notable decline in their use of both prescription and over-the-counter pain medications, end quote, following their use of medical cannabis. So there you go. Of course that's what the study said, But But it's okay. It's always good to add another log on the fire. All right, I have a couple of events I want to tell you about. Hey, first and foremost, I want to let you know that tomorrow is Saturday, and so that means NORML's weekend weed read is delivering to inboxes about 9 a.m. Eastern. If you want that, oh my God, please don't break. Did it just stop? What? Okay, that's frozen. Sorry, Virginia, I broke Instagram. Oh, that's why, because I tried to put it in the wrong place. I hope it's still streaming there. I can't even tell. Maybe it's done. I knew I was going to break something during this live. Okay, there we go. There's the comment. Head to norml.org/subscribe. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box. See if I can fix. I can't fix it. I can barely see it. If you are trying to leave me comments on Virginia NORML's Instagram stream, I cannot see it. It is busted. Yeah. So NORML News delivers Thursdays at 4:20 Eastern because we've got jokes, and NORML Weekend Weed Read delivers Saturday morning at about 9 Eastern. You can get these in your inbox if you want all of the stories that I talk about during the show delivered straight to you, delivered directly to you. Just subscribe. Subscribe to NORML News. Thank you, James, for your I like that. James says, preach it. Pain less and no opioids. I can't wait to see what the cats are about to do. What you doing? Oh, I see that. Yeah, Ben, I see that. Coming up. Okay, early voting. You may be able to early vote this weekend if you haven't voted and early voting is a thing in your state. Please consider that. Regardless of how you vote, please make your plan to vote. You can check Ballotpedia for early voting dates in your state. On Sundays, our chapter, one of our Florida chapters called Suncoast NORML, they have a podcast that streams on YouTube called The Rotation. It streams at 11 a.m. Eastern, so you can check that out on YouTube. Just find Suncoast NORML. Coming up next week, Arizona NORML will be having a chapter meeting. This is November 7th in Phoenix at the Clarendon Hotel. I think that they are having, I may regret opening this link, not because I have too many things going on, but I think they're also doing, did I read that right? They're doing one somewhere else also. They are, and I've found it. Huzzah. I'm just going to put the straight up link to it with no comments whatsoever. So enjoy that. They're also doing a meeting in Tucson on the same day, November 7th. So Arizona NORML meetings, November 7th, 7 p.m., one in Phoenix, one in Tucson. Coming up in December is the NORML Key West Legal Seminar. So book your hotel, register for the seminar, and come hang out in Key West with me, Paul, and Keith at the NORML Key West Legal Seminar at the Pure House Resort and Spa. It is delightful. If you are an attorney and you need CLEs, good news. NORML legal seminars are fully accredited in all states that require continuing legal education credits for their attorneys. If you don't need those CLEs or you're not an attorney, you should still come. And good news for you, we have a discounted rate for you. So check that out at norml.org/Key West. And I'll see you in Key West December 5 through 7. Coming up in January, we will be not only getting into legislative sessions, but in Virginia, we will be hosting the 2025, good grief, 2025 Virginia Cannabis Conference. This will be January 24th, 5th, and 6th. Friday, January 24th, Saturday, January 25th, Sunday, January 26th. You can get full details at virginiacannabisconference.com. Tickets are on sale now. I also have the hotel room, the discounted room block is available as well. And then that following Monday, January 27th, will be Virginia NORML Lobby Day. And you want to register for that. That's free. Just make sure you register in advance so that we can try to get meetings for you with your legislators. You can register for that on the Virginia Cannabis Conference website as well, virginiacannabisconference.com. And those are all the events I have to tell you about. If you are part of a NORML chapter, if you are running a NORML chapter and you have events, please let me know so I can talk about them here during this show. Either email them to me or add NORML as a host to your Facebook event. But if I didn't talk about your event, it's because I didn't know about it. There we go. And where'd that go? I probably needed that script for you. Is that it? Did we do everything? We did all of the things. Okay. Remember one last thing before we part ways, and we all have a lovely weekend enjoying the freedoms that we have left in the United States of America. Please make your plan to vote. Tuesday is election day. If you haven't voted early or you don't get to vote early, please make your plan to vote on Tuesday. Make sure you know when your polls are open and where to go vote. If you need help with that, you can find that information in NORML's Election Central. We have links to find all the information you need in the sidebar of that page. That's going to be at norml.org/election. There's links to it from the front page of the NORML website as well. And then make sure you look at our cannabis voter guide. NORML's cannabis voter guide is called Smoke the Vote. You can find that at vote.norml.org. There's also a link to it on the front page of the NORML website. We grade candidates based on their stated cannabis policy positions, based on how they answer the NORML candidate questionnaire, if they answer it, and based on their policy actions. If they are already an elected, or if they have been an elected before and they have a history of voting on cannabis, then that'll be included in their grade as well. Now, some people do not have any statements on cannabis and do not answer our questionnaire, so then we aren't able to grade them. But please make your plan to vote. Please take a look at Smoke the Vote, the Cannabis Voter Guide, so you know how to be an informed cannabis voter. Thank you, everyone. I love hanging out with you all, answering your questions. If you're watching this afterward and you have questions, just send them to us at norml.org and say, hey, JM, I have a question. And then we'll try our best to answer it for you. Make sure you hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. We try to do this every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I've had a blast. Your questions are great. Let's do this again next week. And be sure to follow along with us election night and the following day for the results of the marijuana measures that are pending in numerous states around the country. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye.